Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so happy to have all of you here. As of filming this, I want to thank you guys for 20 subscribers. I've been so excited to film, and today I'm going to be talking about creativity. So, I'm going to separate this video into three parts. And so, the first part is going to be more about creativity as a whole, the second part is about my creative journey through my life, and the third will be about what I plan to do to get my creativity back because she's not currently in the room with us. Okay, so the first part of this video, I want to talk about what it is to be creative. And for my whole life, I thought that creativity was a part of you and you were just a creative person or you weren't a creative person. And I still believe that to an extent, but I do think that creativity is a choice and that becomes more apparent as we get older. I do feel like creativity used to be very easy to come by as a young child because you weren't really pressured by the expectations of the world and the knowledge of what's going on in the world. And so you kind of lived in a bubble that was created by your family and that support system of your parents and all of that. And so you were kind of free to be imaginative. And as you took on new things and learned new things about the world, you added that into your imagination and you played things like house or you drew and colored. And all of that was very encouraged. But as you get older, you learn those truths that your parents had already known. And it becomes more about survival than about what you could indulge in when it wasn't about survival. And I think that that's really interesting because in a society where creativity is very like valued and important, it's also kind of shunned in the day to day in order to chase something that is not as fully beneficial in my opinion. So, I'm in my senior year of college and I mentioned this in the last video. When I first got here, there were other things that I was concentrating on and things like music and writing and like those parts of me I thought were like just a part of me. Like singing was a part of me and writing was a part of me. And though I knew that writing was a skill, music was less of that so. And so throughout the 4 years now I'm about to graduate and I'm like I realized that those things weren't as a part of me as I thought they were. So I think there's some part of you that is just creative and you develop that as you get older, but I also think there is a part of you that has to keep it going. That has to like keep recycling and pushing yourself to create new things in order for that part of you to not die. I think if you neglect it, then it's no longer there. And it's easier to not neglect it when you have the time to put attention into it. And I think that societal expectations influence how we are creative. And if it's not expected of us to be creative, then it's completely an internal drive. And those drives are weaker or stronger depending, honestly, on your survival. Because I found that, like, people who are in situations where survival is harder, money is tight, or food is hard to come by, they have the ability to be very creative. We all know the starving artist, but that want is because just because it's hard to survive doesn't mean that I'm going to push aside my creativity. I'm prioritizing it as much as my existence. And that's a lot to ask of anybody. I don't think that that is something that's like a must. I'm not here sitting here telling you you need to create like you need to live. For some people, that's simply the case. But I do think that we need to hold creativity in higher importance because I think it's a part of all of us and it's an outlet. And when you find yourself at the top, you realize all of the things that you're missing. I think it's the same with friendships and human connection and family and all of those things that are not material goods. It's not money, it's not fame and success. And like you can chase those things. That's not the issue. I think the issue is being forced to choose between my survival and my love for creativity. I don't think that's a decision that anyone should have to make. And so I don't know if I'm making sense or if what I'm saying is slightly insensitive, but I'm following the thought process of why creativity is important and why we should apply it to our lives. And I think that it's very human. I think that it's an innate part of us, and there is a space in our minds for it. There's a space in my brain for creativity, and you don't have to apply it in the usual way. You don't have to, like, just because I'm creative doesn't mean that I must sit down and draw this bookmark. That's not what creativity means. It means that I'm using that half of my brain in some way that's not to serve anybody but myself. I literally, the past couple of days, a lesson has been learned about productivity for me because honestly, I feel useless if I'm not productive, if I'm not doing something. I feel like I'm a literal waste of space. That's, but like, that is not the case. We should be able to do things that are not considered productive for our own well-being, because that in itself is productivity in a way. But I don't even think that we should prescribe that to be productivity in order to justify it to ourselves. Like, self-care is not productivity to me. Self-care is taking care of myself, you know? Like, I think that that word, even though it can be applied to me as a person, it's not meant for me. That's meant for my workplace, you know? So, those are my thoughts about what it is to be creative. I think that it's stronger in some than in others. And I think that regardless of that, it's about your choices and how you intend to water that seed and how much you intend. And I'm not, again, I'm not saying that like it needs to be like I must create as much as I must survive, but I do think that neglecting creativity as a whole can never be beneficial for anyone. And I said it. And again, creativity can look so different for so many different people, but it's literally half of our brain. Let's get on it. Okay, so I'm going to try and be quicker about this section because I could yap about myself for a very long time. But this is part two, my creativity and how I lost it. So when I was very young, I literally have a memory of me going into my room. I was a child. I was playing with my sister, loved my sister, and we were the most creative girls on the block. And there weren't many mouses on our block at the time. And so I remember I was playing with my sister. I had a little iPhone 4 and I went to my room and I recorded a song. And it just came to me. It was the smallest whisper of a song. And I sang verse one, chorus, verse two, bridge, the typical. I sang the whole entire thing. And it was a moment of silence in my room in the dark. And it felt like it just came to me. And ever since that point, I would be at church, I would be somewhere, and I'd be like, I have a song. And I would go into a room and like go into a quiet place. And my parents were so understanding because they loved that about me. I would go into a quiet place and I would sing. It felt so innate. It felt so like this is just who Brooklyn is. Like that was a part of me. And as I grew older, things change, things happen. And it wasn't as like I want to say dramatic of like I must leave this room for music is coming upon me, but it was still a part of me and I still would write songs. I would always like I would write I've written so many songs in my life. In tandem with that, my amazing sister treated me like I was a little celebrity because she loved editing photos and filming and stuff like that. And we literally, I'm an LPS OG, LPS popular. If anybody knows, if you know, you know. That was like a thing. And so I loved being the muse. I loved being the model. I loved posing for pictures and feeling pretty and becoming a mermaid on the screen post picture. I was in it. Like my headspace was in it. So those things were like I was very young. I always say 6 when I talk about me being young, unless we're talking about the next thing, which was writing. And I remember specifically in 8th grade, I was like, I just started writing. And I would write stories and I'd sit on my bed with my friend and she would she would read the stories that I wrote out loud and edit them because I'm still to this day terrible at grammar, and she'd be like it would just be run on sentences of writing. She would like put periods and commas and we would get excited if I remembered to put a period. I remember writing specifically to be a skill up to this day. I knew that it was a skill and I knew that I was getting better the more that I did it. I would write all the way up until I started college. As I kind of went through my first year, it became less, but I still was writing. And I remember around junior year was when I had been working on a novel for the last 3 years. And then junior year, I think it was junior year that I finished it. And then I kind of just stopped because I didn't really know what to do. And then life came and it became very busy. It became very demanding. I was working 3 jobs and it was just a lot. And survival was over creativity. That was the same with singing, but a lot earlier on. When you're in college, you have roommates, you have people around you almost all the time, and there's barely any privacy. And so just at home, my mom would randomly like just start singing, and I would stand in the stairwell so that you could hear my echoes across the house, and I would sing, 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 sing. I would love a belt and never enough, you know? I didn't have that space here. I didn't have that place where I could sing and not feel judged or where it was just socially appropriate. So that kind of died off, I guess. And so, like, yapping has always been my thing. Maybe I developed it more that I made friends in college and stuff. And I do feel like throughout, I'm a psychology major, and I do feel like the things that I've learned have helped me be able to convey thought in ways that is kind of useful. And so I've become very passionate about giving advice in psychology. I love psychology and just connection and self improvement. And my self improvement journey has, girl, it's been starting from day one and I'm still here. So, but I feel like I've done a lot to like become a better person the past 2 years, really. And so that is where all of like my creativity is now. It's kind of junior year, basically, she finished off everything. She said, come on, guys, line up. Like I'm done with all of you. And I know that sitting in front of a keyboard and looking at a blank page used to be the least intimidating thing. It was so easy to fill it. I published a short story like book with Barnes and Nobles at one point. I self-published it and I was very proud of it. But it was kind of after that point of like finishing a novel, publishing this book that literally just kind of exists now. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, you're sold out. Like, sold out of what? But like, it was kind of those things. And then life being like, I'm bigger. Like, school was like, I'm bigger. Your jobs were like, I'm bigger. And don't get me wrong, I loved my education. Some of it was hard and tricky, but like I'm happy to be here and have one more semester until I graduate. But like it takes time, and that year was very hard for me. And so it kind of leaves you kind of like standing there and being like, so what am I after this? Like, what am I after I get my degree? And that's something that I don't love. I don't love the security until you're not secure. I don't love the promise of something that might not be what you want anymore. And like graduating with my degree, the scariest thing is like not knowing what comes after that. And I think that's kind of what inspired me to sit down and yap and talk about being human, because I have been watching YouTube like my whole life. I remember I got my iPhone 6 and I was so excited because it was a bigger screen to watch my favorite YouTubers. And like I I've always wanted to be there, and I've always been scared of failure. And girl, the perception of failure, let me write that down because I need to perceive it in a different way. But I've been talking a lot about me, and I will continue to, but I kind of want to move on to part 3 of this video, and that is what now? And I think that's a question we should always ask ourselves when we feel a little bit like, let me look back and see everything that I didn't do right or see where things fell apart and da da da. What now? Like, what do I want to do to change that? And again, my first step is literally sitting here and filming, and like pushing myself to do things that are uncomfortable can be considered a little embarrassing or scary or feel like I might fail. So that is like my first thing. I plan to post videos every week. Um, and I want to talk about my creativity and talk about topics about mental health and about perception and about being a human. And I also want to share my journey with resurrecting my creativity. And I have been trying at it for a while, and it's felt like she's not, no one's coming for you, no one's saving you. But as of recently, I found a little bit of a push that's kind of, it felt, I was writing the other day and it felt like when I wrote before, it felt good. It felt like I hit the flow, and that was amazing. So the first question that I'm going to ask myself, and I also want to ask you, because you, faithful viewer, are also probably struggling with something creative. I think that everyone, whether you are an artist or whether like that's your job or whether you're working in corporate, God be with you, I'm terrified, or whether you're literally like you're not there yet, you're like a student and you're kind of just wrestling with academics, I want to ask, how do you plan to change and grow your creativity? Because the way that I plan to change and grow mine is to literally just do it. I love a Nike quote, and like apply myself. And I think when it comes to habits, it's better to add new habits instead of break old ones. Obviously, some habits need to be broken, but for me, I found that filling the space instead of emptying the space is a lot better for my brain and works well with me. So I plan to write more. My goal is to write 500 words every day, and that's kind of a big ask, but I'm asking myself. And my goal is to write a song a week or something like that, where it's like, it doesn't have to be good, because we just talked about perfection in the last video. It doesn't have to be good. It's exercising that muscle. I literally was at my friend's house the other day and she was like, let's write a song together. And she whipped out her guitar and it was the most beautiful thing ever. And was it great? Were the lyrics perfect? I was literally like so over these lyrics. I'm a lyric snob. I just want the lyrics to be good. It wasn't perfect, but we wrote it and then it existed for a little bit and it was fun and it was stretching that muscle. And I found that my creativity has been flowing a little bit more after that. So just asking more of myself when it comes to that. And finally, just posting on here. That's like a big one. I want to be more be consistent and ask myself more of myself in that department as well. That's the video for today. It was super fun talking to you guys and filming. I love comments. Like I love a comment. So I think I love a comment more than anything because I love to hear people talk. I love connection and I want to create that in my comment section. So the most important thing from you guys, and please be kind, because like we said in the last video, empathy for ourselves and for others, and be mindful, because I want you guys to put yourselves out there as I'm putting myself out there. And so I want this to be a safe space. So, but comment, say something, say hi. I will make sure to like it and to maybe say something back. Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm very, very happy that I finally kind of kick through this brick wall. And I don't know, I want to do something more structured on here when it comes to my creativity. Obviously, there's a level of accountability when it comes to, did the video post? Then she posted the video. Like she's making a video every week. But I kind of want something with my singing and songwriting and something with my just regular like story writing and stuff of like accountability and just sharing my journey. So I don't know yet. And if you are here and you have an idea, then share it because I will. I will read it. I'm so excited. So thank you again, guys, for 20 subscribers. That number is huge to me. It might not be huge to other people, but it's huge to me because that's 20 people. But I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pose for a thumbnail because I forgot to do that in the last video. And and I'll see you guys next Friday. That's insane. Okay, bye.